Hello everyone, welcome to the One Water Institute YouTube channel. My name is Farshad and I'm the coordinator of One Water Institute. Today we started our brand new interview series behind the lab bench, where we're gonna have fun conversation and uncensored question from real mind here at York University. Today we have Dr. Gora, who is an assistant professor at Civil Engineering Department. Let's dive into the conversation. Thanks for being here today.
Not a problem.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Can you tell us a little about yourself and what brought you into this world of water research?
Yeah, so I grew up in Hamilton, Ontario, which is pretty close to Toronto. And I always wanted to be a scientist. I don't really remember a time when I didn't want to be a scientist. And I eventually gravitated toward water, mostly because, I switched my interests over time. So when I was in high school, I did an internship at McMaster University with a professor, he wasn't a professor yet, but at the time he was a PhD student, Pasquale Cerrone. And it was very, very cool. It was a medical research thing. And we were doing, trying to develop vectors basically to bring like a medication to where tumors are in the body, to try to destroy the tumor. We would do that. Like the idea was that the agent that we were putting in would prevent the growth of blood vessels within tumors. And that was like such fascinating work. So I decided that I wanted to go into medical science. Not necessarily be a doctor, but to be a researcher in that space. But during my first year, I met a lot of people who were in engineering, and I realized that that was maybe more in line with my interests and also with kind of my ethics. I really struggled with the mouse work, the biological research aspects where we were working with live animals. And so it just seemed like kind of a better fit for me. So I went into chemical engineering with a specialization in biochemical engineering at Queen's. And that went really well. My favorite course by far was the wastewater treatment course. We had good professors, and also the content, I just found it fascinating. So I intended to go into wastewater treatment to do a master's. And I did a few interviews with professors who were focused on wastewater treatment. But I met Dr. Margaret Walsh at Dalhousie University. Almost, it was not quite random, but it was close to it. And she invited me to come do my master's with her, and her focus is drinking water. So I, took on a project that was in her lab that was related to the recycling of backwash water in drinking water treatment plants. And through that, I became acquainted with numerous people in the water industry, especially through the Atlantic Canada Water and Wastewater Association. And it just, it's a community. And I think that's what brought me into water was just people. So an interest in science and engineering, and then the people in the industry.
I see. To get to know you a bit beyond your professional role, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Hamilton, Ontario. So just a little bit west of Toronto, not too far away. Toronto was the big city for me. I've been coming to Toronto since I was a small child, and it always seemed like a very exciting place to me.
Okay. Next question is, if you hadn't become a professor, what other career could you see yourself in? Have you ever thought about it? Oh,
of course, yes. So I worked as a consulting engineer for 3.5 years in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and it wasn't quite what I wanted, but it was great. Like, I loved that job, and I think I was good at it. And again, it was like very, very, very much part of the water industry. I was around other water engineers, and everyone was very positive and supportive, and we got to go to cool conferences and do work in cool places. So I think I can imagine a version of my life where I stayed in that job and probably had a much better salary than I have now. But then also, I'm an amateur musician, and I've been in a bunch of bands, and I guess my dream job, well, maybe my dream job when I was 19 would have been I know this sounds a bit lame when you're as old as I am, but like to be a rock star.
All right. You still have time to do it.
I don't have time.
Okay. All right. Outside of the academia, what do you enjoy doing to recharge yourself?
Yeah, so I'm the parent of a small child, so there's not a lot of opportunity for recharge. I love spending time with my son. He's the love of my life. I have a wonderful partner as well who I like to spend time with. And I'm very lucky to live in a city that's very close to where I grew up because my parents are close by and I spend time with them and with my sister and her family. So I'd say like spending a lot of time with family and also with my friends here in Toronto. I did my PhD at U of T, so I was able to make a lot of friends here even before I came back to be a professor here. So I guess really just being with friends and family. I also love being in nature, so I'm lucky I live close to one of the beautiful ravines in Toronto. I like to go for walks there by myself or with my son or with my partner. That's always nice. I don't do as much music as I used to just because of time constraints. I guess if I'm really honest, I do a bit of gaming. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Zelda franchise. So sometimes when I can't get out and my family is asleep, I'll probably be playing Zelda.
I see. How about the sport? Are you into any specific type of sport?
No.
I'm
really bad at sports. I really am. I'm terrible at sports.
Have you ever tried, or you just think?
Oh, my dad is an athlete,
okay.
And he got me to try like every single sport when I was a child, and I was bad at every single one of them. I do love swimming, and just recently I've taken it up again in a more, I guess, formal way, and I've been really, really enjoying that. When I was younger, I got quite into long distance running, and that was a wonderful experience, but it's hard on your body, so eventually I had to give that up. But stuff like half marathons and everything.
I see. That sounds good. Now let's talk a bit about your professional work. How would you describe your current research or focus without using any jargons?
It's hard to not use jargon.
Yeah.
I think really my team is very focused on understanding water safety in different contexts, and a lot of what we do is in communities that are generally underserved or places where the risks to water quality are not as well understood. So, for example, we have a lot of projects in the north of Canada, so that includes Nunavut and Nunavik, which is the northern region in Quebec. And a lot of our work there is trying to understand what are these systems like and where are there opportunities for example, microbes to grow that you wouldn't necessarily see in an urban context in the south. And so we've also got some really cool projects with Dr. Syed Imran Ali from the Data Institute of Global Health Research, where we're looking at the use of UV light and other technologies to try to ensure water safety in humanitarian contexts. So places like refugee camps or places where people are maybe less organized communities, by which I mean temporary and there for a certain time for a certain reason, but there's a lot of water safety issues in that kind of context. So we're doing some work there. So work with UV light and UV advanced oxidation. So really understanding how these treatment processes work, how they work against microbes and how they work against chemical contaminants. And I'm hoping to also start doing some more work with adsorption, which is, it works via different mechanisms than the other two, but also used to remove a lot of organic contaminants from water.
I see. This is my personal question from profs. So based on your PhD thesis, so is it possible for profs to have projects or work on different research topics rather than their PhD thesis research?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My PhD research was around photocatalysis, which is a form of advanced oxidation that's driven by UV light. So it's not totally outside of what I've done. But so the way I've explained this to other people who are maybe doing postdocs and looking for professor roles, is that as a professor, you don't really have projects, you have a program. So you have a research program that has maybe a few themes with multiple sub-projects, but the projects belong to the students, right? And so you have to have kind of like a bigger picture concept of what you're looking at. So instead of saying like photocatalysis in the context of disinfection byproducts, which is exactly what I did for my PhD thesis, I am interested in advanced oxidation, right? So it's a much bigger umbrella that will have multiple projects underneath it and enable multiple partnerships as opposed to just the single project. But it is, of course, helpful to draw from what you've done before. Yeah. So the reason why I'm able to do this work in the north is because I had an opportunity as a postdoc to lead a project in Pond Inlet, Nunavut. And that was a project that would have been initiated by my postdoc supervisor, Professor Graham Gagnon at Dalhousie. But I was able to take lead on it. I developed those relationships and that knowledge. So then when I became a professor, I was already known up there through, with the government contacts and people in communities, and it made it a lot easier for me to establish that program.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of consistent learning process for profs as well, like these students.
Well, that's the best part of the job.
Exactly. That's good. Yeah. I would go for the next question. What's one challenge in your field that keeps you curious or motivated?
I don't know if it's like a challenge so much as just a sense of, I think it's unfair that there are people, particularly in a country like Canada, that we have so many natural resources. We have lots of money, we have lots of knowledge and technology, but that we still have places that where people don't have safe drinking water. People have to worry about that as part of their day.
I see.
And so that's what motivates me. Yeah.
I got you. What do you wish more people understand about your area of research?
I think I would like for people to understand that microbial contamination, so like bacteria and stuff in the water, is the number one thing with drinking water. I think we get maybe a little bit, organic contaminants are really interesting.
Yeah.
They're very important. They can have like chronic health impacts. Same with metals. There are some metals that also have acute health impacts, but overwhelmingly, the reason we do drinking water treatment is to reduce the likelihood that people are going to get sick or get infected by bacteria, viruses, protozoa. So sometimes I feel like we get a little bit off track and maybe misunderstand, for example, why we use chlorine, which we use chlorine because it's very effective. And it does have some effects that people don't love, like the taste. But there's a reason, and that's because the number one thing we do in drinking water is try to make people safe from microbes.
I see. If someone shadowed you for a day, what would surprise them most about what you actually do?
How did not sound
Take
good?
your time.
Yeah. I think when they do. So this is a really cool format for an interview, but a lot of times when you see a professor in like the news or something, they're in a lab coat, they're in the lab, they might be like touching something.
Exactly.
I think maybe people would be surprised that I go into my lab very infrequently. I do very limited work besides some basic training with my students, because it's not the role. The professor's role is to ensure that, of course, their students have the training, safety training especially, make sure they have a project, but also, I'm responsible for making sure they have funding and that they have equipment and all these other things, that they get paid, all these. So
money
that's
comes
actually
first. Yeah.
right, but it is important, right? So that is really my role, is
Exactly.
to apply for research funding, and then also on the other side help them to disseminate their work, so to write papers and do conferences and all this other stuff. So I think people might be surprised by how infrequently I do lab work, and also just how much time I spend in meetings.
How about your personal life? What would the people be?
Oh, I don't know. I'm a middle-aged lady with a small child. So
Okay.
I think I live a life that people would be like, oh yeah, that's what she does.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, how many students do you have?
Well, right now the team has 11 members.
Oh.
Yep. And we're going to have a 12th member starting for the summer. We have a summer student starting. We're very excited about that. I had originally stated that I wanted to have 4 people in my team, but I just kept meeting awesome students, and so we've grown. It's a lot of
Do you
fun.
prefer have grad student, undergrad, or PhD or master, or it depends on the project?
I don't want to answer that question.
Okay.
I think all profs have some preferences that are, but there's benefits with an undergrad student. You've got an opportunity to really contribute to someone's growth, both as like a student and as a researcher. A PhD student, of course, they are independent. They might be doing a different level of work, so that's always great. But in general, like,
Depends on the project, I see.
yeah, and the person, and
Yeah.
I love mentoring. Like I also personally have a lot of excellent mentors, so that form of relationship I find very appealing and helpful. And so I think that the level is a bit less important than kind of the relationship that you build with the person.
So I guess mentoring is the most important aspect of being a prof, so that you're into it. So That's why you have more students.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone's motivated differently.
Yeah,
so I'm
exactly.
very motivated by relationships. That's been a constant for me for my whole life.
Exactly.
And so others are really motivated by the thrill of discovery, which I also appreciate. But for me, it really is about the relationships. So, reflecting on it, I'm not surprised that I have a big team. I feel really lucky that people want to be on the team.
Yeah, good for your student to have a great supervisor as well. Looking ahead, so what do you hope your work contributes to the future of the water or environmental sustainability?
I just hope that we can make some progress toward improving water safety for everyone. I mean, my focus has generally been Canada, but I just want people to have safe drinking water so that they can focus on other things and go about their day and like succeed and thrive without having to constantly worry about having access to safe water. And then in terms of like the industry, the water industry is wonderful. Like people choose water usually because they care about the environment, they care about people, and a lot of people that I know are also driven by relationships the same way I am. So there's already a lot of sharing, there's already a lot of collaboration, but I think just seeing that even better integration between industry and universities, I think is a really exciting opportunity. So things like guest speakers, people doing internships, those things are really helpful, but also having kind of like more formal events and opportunities for knowledge sharing. At the International Water Association conference last summer, I developed a workshop that was all about water education. And we had people from different groups, so we had consultants, we had profs, we had not-for-profit groups, and just how are they educating students, themselves, employees, or the public about water. And it was just fascinating to see, like, we had a professor who has a program very similar to what you're doing here. And that's, provides a lot of public education, which is really neat. And then I also had a man who was from a consulting firm, and he also, really enjoyed being a mentor, and that was a really important part of his career for him. And he provided a reflection on that, and that was really powerful. So I feel like those kinds of events where we can share and learn from what different parts of the industry are doing on a similar topic. I'd like to see more of that, but I think it's happening and it's just going to get better. So
yeah, I see. Do you think universities or research institutions are adapting fast enough to real world challenges?
Yes. I think it depends on the kind of challenge. I mean, there are challenges that happen geopolitically or financially that are difficult. It's not because there's anything wrong with the research context. It's just that makes life difficult for people. I don't think anyone is able to react very quickly to that. But I think if you see how universities pivoted during COVID, it didn't happen overnight.
I see.
But we did manage to give most of our courses in a reasonably good format online for multiple years, and we were able to learn from that. And I think that a lot of really interesting innovations in teaching came from that. So, for example, in some of my courses, we now have a combination of asynchronous content and live in-person lectures. So what I do for my courses, I often record some lectures, intro lectures, and then the students are asked to watch those ahead of time. And then they come to the live lecture, and I don't record it. It's all just like whiteboard and marker type thing, and call and answer, and very interactive. And it's kind of this flipped classroom concept that's been talked about for a long time, but COVID gave us an opportunity to really implement it and improve it. And now it's something that's real. It's really happening. It's not being talked about in engineering education circles. It's actually happening on the ground. So I think when you think about the timeline there, that's pretty awesome. That's within 4 years we made these changes. In terms of research, I think that industry engagement is, helps people to stay current. But you don't want to get too entrained in that, because our role as researchers is to look beyond and to be doing the emerging knowledge generation, right? So if we only do stuff that the industry is already doing, we're not really moving forward for the entire industry. We're kind of expected to be, the I don't want to say quite necessarily leaders, but like the vanguard. We're the first people who go and do something that's maybe a little bit different or experimental, and then everyone else can benefit from us taking that risk.
I see. If you have unlimited resources or financial support or any red tape, what kind of project or research idea you would like to pursue?
Oh, I don't know. I just want to get a nice PMS. Is that asking so much? No, like, seriously. I'd love to have a suite of fancy equipment, and big, beautiful lab and technicians. If I had that, I don't know. I think...
what kind of idea, research idea you have in your mind if you have unlimited resources?
So, with my limited resources, I've also already kind of started to establish an idea that I'm calling the York Community Water Center. And the idea is that we'd have equipment that's of course like owned by the university and primarily being used by graduate students and technicians here at the university, but that would also be used for community partnerships, the community and industry partnerships. And right now I've applied for one small piece of equipment and it's a pretty flexible one. I'm hopeful that it'll be useful for a lot of things, really enable a lot of those partnerships. But the dream would be to have, as I was mentioning, like a big staffed lab with fancy equipment that could be used to be flexible for all sorts of different types of partnerships. So working with utilities, working with community groups, working with universities from around the world, having things that we can just, use at the, as soon as we want to.
I guess its profs have the lab equipment that would be easier to work on any specific project in the future.
And that's something that grows over time. I'm still pretty new, and I know that
it takes time.
It does take time, and that's okay. It's important to always have something to reach toward.
Exactly. What's a bold prediction you have about the future of your field?
Oh, jeez. I don't know. My field is not conservative by politics, but we are very, I guess we move a bit more slowly than a lot of other fields because we are dealing with human health and environmental health. And so there's a lot of things to consider. I don't know that I have bold predictions. I think that we're going to continue to work toward positive outcomes for everyone. I don't know when it's going to, I don't know that there's any stop to it. I don't really have...
Because many fields in the research world has been stopped because all they reach a point that there is nothing to be figured out, so that they divert the path to other fields.
Oh, I see.
Interaction between the other fields as well. So that's why I asked this question. Maybe in the future there would be something happen in your field.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think there's an opportunity for more integration across the urban water system. So things like drinking water, wastewater, stormwater, and thinking about how that moves through the cities. So a lot of that comes down to, the way that honestly stormwater moves through the city, making sure that we are trying to bring the urban environment more in line with the natural environment, which was more or less functional for, forever until we started building cities. Also, I mean, water is water, so no one loves the idea of drinking wastewater, no matter how much it's been treated, but realistically, we have the technology to do it, and so it's a matter of comfort and maybe not just selling it, but maybe making sure that we've checked every possible problem, before we try to implement it, and also doing it in a way that makes sense. So sometimes a cool technology comes out and people think, oh, well, we want to have it too, and that's fine. But if you're somewhere like Canada, well, most parts of Canada, we have lots of water.
Yeah.
We don't need to recycle our wastewater, right? But I don't think. It's better, in my opinion, for us to clean that water to a very high level, return it to the environment so that it can be, replenish ecosystems and, the hydrologic cycle in our area. But that's because we live in a certain context. But if we're in a drier area, I think that something like, reuse of wastewater is really important. And so in that case, I think it's worth really looking into that as a way to manage water. But then places like Toronto that are much wetter, I think maybe our focus has to be on things like stormwater and, those kinds of issues.
I see. Okay. Now let's get to some lighter, fun question. Are you ready for it? To wrap things up. So,
all right.
For the first one, if your research had a theme song, what would it be and why?
Jeez.
Do not pick your favorite song. Just based on your field of study and field of research, is a song.
I don't know.
You haven't thought about it?
Maybe like my ethic more so.
Okay.
There's a song by Marvin Gaye. It's like Mercy, Mercy Me.
Yeah.
And it's about basically seeing the natural world and wanting to protect it and live more in sync with it. And I think that's a powerful song for me. There's also there's a lot of songs about water. I have a water playlist.
Cool.
Yeah, I can send it to you if you like.
Thank you.
Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
And no, I don't know. Like, there's just. I think I'll just leave it at that.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. What's a misconception people have about the researcher or profs?
I think that we don't have don't have lives outside of work, and we do work a lot, but everyone's human.
Yeah,
Still,
we are not robots.
And I think, especially to undergrads, sometimes we can come off as a little bit intimidating, or maybe a little out of touch.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The second one might be true, but the first one, I think a lot of people. There's no need to be intimidated. Most professors, especially if you ask them about their research, it's going to be more a matter of trying to get them to stop talking, rather than, any kind of awkward interaction.
Gotcha. Let's assume that you get 1 month off free duty. What would you do?
So, I guess before my son was born, I'd probably just say like travel somewhere cool and I don't know. My partner and I went to Australia for a month a few years ago, and we just bounced around, went hiking, took pictures of birds, swam in the ocean. Like, it was pretty awesome, and then not having a set plan was the best part. So just going out to see the city and not knowing exactly what we were going to do that day or where we were going to eat or anything like that. So that's my favorite, is when you go somewhere new and you don't necessarily have a plan and you have a lot of time. So I think I would try to find somewhere that I hadn't been before and just enjoy that, ideally with my partner. But we do have a son now, and so those kinds of trips are a little bit different than they used to be. So I wouldn't quite say that it's ever responsibility free, but we're very lucky. His family, my partner's family, is in New Brunswick, a beautiful, beautiful part of New Brunswick. And so we go there already in the summers, and that's a lovely place to be. Very, there's not a lot of newness for us. I mean, we've been going, he grew up there, and I've been going for almost 20 years, but it's, we do a lot of hiking, and we can go boating, and all these things, and our son is there with family, and so I guess right now, that's what I would do, is just go and just relax and enjoy that space.
Yeah, that's cool. What's a guilty pleasure you're not actually guilty about it?
I don't feel very guilty about any of my pleasures. I mean, I love good food.
Okay.
I love beer. I love wine. I love, I think having a nice life.
Okay.
But I don't feel guilty about that. I think it's what a lot of people aspire to, and that we should all have access to these things. And so I don't feel too guilty. I guess maybe I probably seemed a little bit guilty there about the gaming. So yeah, I guess maybe like there's a bit too much Zelda in my life, but otherwise, I don't feel guilty about anything that I do.
Sounds good. Yeah. Finish this sentence. People think I'm serious, but actually I'm
serious.
Really?
I'm a pretty serious person. I always have been, even since I was a little kid. But I'm serious, but I also do like to rock out. So like there's maybe that doesn't necessarily come off as serious.
Maybe.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest or funniest question a student has ever asked you?
Yeah, I saw this question when you sent them to me earlier. So I recently had a student in my class ask me whether it was possible to get a perfect grade in my class without showing up.
Oh gosh.
And it took me a second, but the answer was no. Like, obviously not, because my class, there's a lot of participation, and I think that the material that we do in class is very collaborative, and also I don't really tend to give out perfect grades. So yeah, but that one almost threw me off my game, but I think it's okay. I mean, especially in first year, students are just getting used to kind of what it is to be here, and they're still getting used to kind of how different professors run their courses. So I guess it's a fair question, but it made me giggle.
Yeah, exactly. If you could collaborate with anyone, dead or alive, Who would it be and why?
That's my grandma.
Yeah?
Yeah, I miss her a lot. She passed, and she's the one who taught me how to read. And yeah, and she just always was really great for having conversations with and helping me to ground a lot of my thinking and kind of, equity and fairness and environmentalism. So I'd say, and my dad too. I have a lot of these great conversations about research with my dad. And so these people aren't famous except to me. But I find that having someone who's genuinely interested in your work and willing to kind of have wide-ranging conversations about it can be the best for creativity. And then, it's also just nice to have people you love being involved. So I think that's, for me, those are the two people.
Okay, let's end the conversation with a quick round. Just say the first thing that comes to your mind. Do you prefer coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Are you more of an early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
What would you rather spend time in the mountains or by the ocean?
By the ocean.
Do you usually choose books or podcasts?
Books. Except Desert Climb.
Okay.
I love the podcast.
Are you a teamwork kind of person or a solo worker?
Oh, it's a hard one to answer.
Yeah, it's really hard.
I love working alone, but I also love leading my team.
Okay, good. Would you rather live in a Boston city or a quiet countryside?
I like to live in the city but visit the country.
That's a tricky answer. Are you more of a phone call person or a
Don't call me on the phone.
Okay. What's one app on your phone that you can't live without?
My camera.
Your camera. That's good.
I have a small child. I have like 2,000 pictures of him on my phone.
All right, that's a wrap for our first interview with Dr. Gora. Thanks for being here. That was our pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Farshad.
No worries. If you enjoyed the interview today, please follow us on the YouTube channel and LinkedIn, follow our website, and tell us who are you willing to have our next guest and what kind of questions do you like to have. Thank you for today.
Thanks for having me.
Take care, everyone.